Hello! Words you need? Advanced. And if your English is very advanced, I hope that you will still find something new in this lesson because the words, or at least some of the words, are quite obscure. Now, you might know that the word obscure can mean smutna, like I could make out the obscure shape of a building in the distance. But obscure also means малоизвестно. So, малоизвестный fact, an obscure fact. Малоизвестное слово, an obscure word. And some of these words are quite obscure, and you might not know them. Anyway, let's go and let's find out how many of these words you already know. So, the first one. На митинге были задержаны сотни протестующих. Задержаны. 100 protesters were detained at the rally. So, задержать человека, to detain. Obviously, if we're talking about your flight at the airport, it's not detain. The flight was not detained. The flight was delayed. So, задержать на какое-то, время is to delay. But задержать, when it's someone in authority, который задерживает тебя, then it's detain. So in this case, the police detained the protesters. And the noun would be detention. Я против задержания мирных демонстрантов. I am against the detention of peaceful protesters. However, in my life and the life of all people who have been to school in England, the word detention is associated with school punishments. If you have seen the Harry Potter films or read the Harry Potter books, you may know that Ron and Harry quite often end up in detention as a punishment because they did something wrong. And for example, Snape gave them detention, which means that after school, when everybody has free time, they were detained by the teacher for an hour or an hour and a half, and that was their detention. They were detained. So, first one, detain, detention. The next word, интернет передается по волоконно-оптическим кабелям. The internet is transmitted through fiber optic cables. It's two words, fiber optic, but it sounds like one, fiber optic, because optic begins with the vowel, so we use the rules of connected speech. Fiber optic cables. So fiber is волокно. It's also клетчатка when we talk about food. So fiber is an important part of a healthy diet. So in this context, it would be клетчатка. In other contexts, волокно. The next word. Нам нужно предложить ему стимул. We need to offer him an incentive. Or we need to incentivize him to do what we want. To give an incentive, предложить стимул кому-то. Give an incentive. The next one. Он печально известный мошенник. Известный, he is famous. But печально известный, he is infamous. So in this case, he's an infamous con man. Infamous. So the stress is on the first syllable, infamous. So what do? We stretch the n. Infamous. I wonder what other words are often used after infamous. Let's have a look here. So you can have it's an infamous prison. So it's печально известная тюрьма. He committed an infamous crime. The infamous case of the serial killer. Infamous. The next one, Это был гигантский скачок для человечества. Скачок. It could be jump, but in this case it's not. It was a giant leap for mankind. You may know that that's what Neil Armstrong said when he stepped onto the surface of the moon. That's if you believe that he stepped onto the surface of the moon. I know some people don't believe it. But he said, one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. Leap. So when you pronounce it, leap, leap, try to pronounce it with a smile. Leap, 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 and make the e really short before the unvoiced p at the end. Leap, leap. Another interesting use of this word is leap year. A leap year is высококосный год, when there are 29 days in February. I don't know why it's called a leap year, but it's the same word for some reason. It's also a verb, actually, and it's leap, leapt, leapt, like sleep, slept, slept. Leap, leapt, leapt. So the, I don't know, he leapt into the water. He jumped, he leapt. Next. Я могу быть уверенным в своем превосходстве среди своих сверстников. So, сверстники is the word we are looking for. I can hold my head up high among my peers. So, sверстники are peers, my peers. And there's a nice adjective with this word, peerless. Она выступила бесподобно. She gave a peerless performance. So her performance was so good that she has no sверстники because she's just on another level. Like, I don't know, Federer in the 2000s in tennis. He was on another level. You know, his play was peerless. And let's have a look at some other things that can be peerless. Let's do 2 before, 2 after. See what we get. Not many things actually. So we'll forget about that. The next one. Мужчины выживали, совершая набеги на фермы. So this is набег. I'm not sure if this is a good translation or not. Maybe tell me in the comments. But the English is, the men survived by raiding farms. Not reading. Raiding. The men survived by raiding farms. Not reading. Raid. Raiding. The men survived by raiding farms. Nope, I can't do it. So, in this case, voice typing just doesn't work for me. Maybe you can make it work. I don't know. But the word I was looking for was this, to raid. So in this case, набег. But it could also be a police thing. The police raided the apartment. Not rated. No, I'm really struggling with this word. The police raided the apartment. Nope. Oh dear. And I think in Russian that is raid. So that's easier. Raid. To raid somewhere or something. Okay, the next one. Я уронил свой стакан, и он разбился вдребезги. That's a difficult word to pronounce. Вдребезги. I dropped my glass and it shattered. So shattered is разбиться вдребезги, into many, many pieces. It shattered. And actually you can also say, I'm shattered. Which I think is the same as я разбит in Russian. Like, I'm so tired, я просто разбит. I'm shattered. I'm really, really tired. I'm shattered. So what are the things? Shatter. Glasses can shatter. Windows can shatter. You can also say, my dreams were shattered. If, something happened which destroyed your dreams. So, shatter, разбиться вдребезги. And the next one. Она пожала плечами и сказала, что ничем не может мне помочь. Look at me. Вот это. She shrugged and said she couldn't help me. She shrugged and said she couldn't help me. So it's пожать плечами is to shrug. To shrug. Hold the r. Lips forward. Shrugged. Shrugged. And the last word in the first part of the lesson. Их отношения были напряжены до предела. Their relationship was strained to breaking point. So to strain something, it's about tension when there's too much tension. When you stretch something too much, then it becomes strained. So strain is too much stress. It's a lot of stress, it's a lot of tension, it's a lot of pressure. And let's see. So we'll do strain as a verb and see what we get. 3 and 3. So if you strain your eyes, you put a lot of pressure on your eyes to see something in the distance. Strain your eyes to try to make out what it is. What else can be strained? Relations were strained when there's too much pressure on the relationship. Strain your ears, the same idea. Really put pressure on your ears to hear something. Strain your ears. Resources are strained, like there's a lot of pressure on our resources. Muscle strain is when you put too much pressure on your muscle, you can get a muscle strain. So it's about напряжение. The next one is in the next part of the lesson. So now's the time to press pause. If you haven't been repeating all the sentences after me, which is what you should be doing, I recommend that you press pause now, if you have the chance. Go back, read all the sentences. It would be even better if you could find time to read all the sentences using voice typing and check your pronunciation. But it's a good time to stop and review what you've seen so far and then come back and watch the next part of the lesson. Part 2 starts with word number 611. У них есть хижина в лесу. They have a cabin in the woods. So cabins are more or less always made out of wood. So it might be, this is a hunter's cabin. So that's about охотник. Or this is a trapper's cabin. So a trapper is somebody who tries to catch foxes, rabbits, other animals in traps. Ловушки. So you can find trappers, you can find hunters in the woods. Could also be, this is a fisherman's cabin. Fisherman's cabin, if it's рыбака. So a cabin, it's usually in the woods, в лесу, and it's always made of wood. Деревянный. Cabin. I know that Scandinavians, especially Norwegians, they always call their dacha a cabin. So most Norwegians have a place in the city, in the town, and they have a cabin somewhere in the forest or in the mountains. Cabin. If you have ever flown on an aeroplane, then I'm sure you've heard the expression cabin crew. Бортпроводники были очень предупредительны. The cabin crew were very helpful. Cabin, when we talk about transport, is part of the vessel. So it's a boat. You know there were different cabins. The captain's cabin was the nicest cabin. It's a kind of room. A room on a boat is a cabin. The main part of the aeroplane where the passengers sit is the cabin of the aeroplane. Next one. Выбрасывайте свой мусор в специально отведенные для этого урны. Dispose of your rubbish in the designated bins. So, специально отведенные для этого, designated. You can talk about the designation. For example, roles. Roles can be designated to people. It's worth looking at. Designate. What other things get designated? This might help us. Well, things can be designated by the state, государством. Most of these, I think, are the people or the organizations that designate. This area was designated for construction, or this area was designated for conservation. So that's an example of специально отведенные, назначенные. This has a special purpose. It's designated for this. The next one. Не сбрасывайте со счетов этот вариант. Don't discount this option. It's an interesting word, discount, because there's also the phrase a discount. I can offer you a great discount means a special price. And it's because the discount is always under something. So if you discount an option, you understate how likely it is. So that's сбрасывать со счетов, I guess. If you give a discount on a price, or if you discount the price, you offer a lower price. So a discount is always something lower. The noun is a discount, and the verb is to discount. Discount. So the stress is on the first syllable for the noun, a discount, and the second syllable for the verb, to discount. And a discount is almost always to talk about prices, whereas to discount is usually to talk about probability. So if you discount somebody, you really underestimate the probability of them winning in the sports competition. Or if you discount an option, you underestimate the likelihood, the probability of it being true. Discount. Okay, the next one. Кто-нибудь может истолковать мой сон? Can anyone interpret my dream? So interpret can be истолковать. But perhaps more often we use this word when we talk about interpreting, which is синхронный перевод. So written перевод is translation, but синхронный, so spoken перевод, is interpreting. Она работает вон синхронным переводчиком. She works for the UN as a simultaneous translator. And let's just have a quick look at interpret and see what other things often get interpreted. So, for example, you can interpret the results of an investigation. So, scientists often investigate something, they get results, and then they have to interpret their results. They have to say what the results mean. The same with data. You gather a lot of data, for example, for the census, then you have to interpret it. You have to say what the data means. The law can be interpreted in different ways. Some people think that the law means this. That's one interpretation of the law. Other people think that the law means this. That's another interpretation of the law. So interpretation is about what something actually means. The next one, 615. Сделайте петлю и проденьте ее через иглу. I hope I pronounced that sentence correctly. Make a loop and pass it through the needle. This is one of the oo words that I like, because people often call this oo the long oo. But it's not long, because here it comes before an unvoiced p, loop, loop. It's really short, oop, ooh, ooh, ooh. It's not a long sound, but it is still a double sound. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Loop. L, whoop. So you sort of say l, like you're saying look. Look. But then you close your mouth. Loop. Look, loop. L, loo. L, loo. L, loo. L, loo. Loop. Look, loop. Look, loop. Look. So loop. It's not really longer than look, but you need to close your mouth. Look, loop. Look, loop. And a loop is петля. The next one. Для разгона толпы были вызваны дополнительные силы полиции. So here we're talking about толпа, but it's not just any kind of толпа, it's an out of control толпа. Extra police were called in to disperse the mob. So a mob, open your mouth, mob, is a crowd which is out of control. Often we talk about rioting when we talk about mobs. Rioting, mobs. Rioting is беспорядок. And the next one. Это натуральное средство от укусов насекомых. Натуральное средство от. This is a natural remedy for insect bites. It's a remedy for insect bites. I wonder what else we get if I put in here remedy for and look at words that come after it. A remedy for depression, a remedy for disease, a remedy for a problem. So a remedy is something that can fix something. You can also use it as a verb, to remedy. How are we going to remedy this problem? It means to fix. We took remedial measures to address the situation. So if it's remedial, then it's as a remedy. So in order to fix something. Remedy, remedial. See, I told you some of these words were obscure. There you go. Remedial. That's an obscure one. If you knew it, very good. Дай мне сказать свое слово. Okay, everybody knows this word, but did you know this expression? Сказать свое слово is to have one's say. Let me have my say. Дай мне сказать свое слово. Have my say. Let him have his say. Let her have her say. Well, we've let you have your say. Now let me have my say. Try to use that expression sometime. The next one. Счета компании были тщательно проверены, и все было в порядке. Тщательно проверены. The company's accounts were scrutinized, and everything was in order. So, тщательно проверить is to scrutinize. And we often talk about scrutiny as well, like kind of тщательная проверка. His arguments won't stand up to scrutiny. So if they are scrutinized, if they're carefully looked into, carefully investigated, then they'll fall apart. They won't stand up to scrutiny. Scrutinize, scrutiny. There's a good adjective as well. His look was inscrutable. There we go, inscrutable. If something's inscrutable, then you can scrutinize it, but you won't find anything because it's inscrutable. It won't give anything away. That's a really obscure word, inscrutable. But it comes from this same root, scrutiny. All right, the next one. Велосипедист не справился с управлением и врезался в стену. Of course, you know the word crashed. How about this word? The cyclist lost control and slammed into a wall. So if you hit something, boom, very hard, you can use the adjective to slam. Slammed into a wall. When you pronounce this word, we don't have so many words actually which have MD. We have a lot of words with ND, where we always stretch the N, and Not so many with MD, but it's the same effect. Slammed into a wall. So make the M very stretchy when you pronounce this. Slammed. All right, that's another set of 10 words. I hope they were interesting ones for you. So press pause, take a short break, read through the sentences again, and then watch the next part of the lesson. Part 3, the first one, за вход взимается плата. Of course, it could be there is an entrance fee, but in this case, there is an admission fee. This comes from the verb to admit. Now, you may know this verb in the context of he admitted that he had made a mistake, or just he admitted his mistake, or he admitted his guilt. So, признать свою ошибку, свою вину, to admit. But we also use to admit to let somebody in. So we talk about university admissions. And students are admitted to university. Let in. So that's the context here. An admission fee, a fee to be let in to some kind of place or institution. Admission. The next one. Ты способен поступить в лучший университет. Ну, в один из лучших. Потому что здесь у нас a top university, not the top university. So I think один из лучших would be a better translation. Anyway, you are capable of getting into a top university. Ты способен, you are capable. You're able to do it, you are capable of doing it. Basically, it's the same. You're able to win. You are capable of winning. But it's not quite the same. We're able to win, we're capable of winning. Capable means we have, it's about our kind of characteristics. We have what it, there's a nice phrase actually. You are capable of winning means you have what it takes to win. Or the question, do you have what it takes? You have what it takes to win. You're capable of doing it. You're able, well, there's nothing stopping you, like the rules, something outside. Whereas this capable, it's about what you have inside you. You have what it takes. So there's a slight difference between able and capable, but they're very close. Very close. But capable is more specific, I would say, and it refers to your particular characteristics or personality traits or abilities, that kind of thing. A word with the same root is capacity. Какова вместимость стадиона? What is the capacity of the stadium? So, the stadium is capable of holding 80,000 spectators. The capacity of the stadium is 80,000. Capacity of, capable of. Okay, the next one. В этом номере есть, or it could be в этой комнате, есть красивый резной деревянный камень. So we want the word резной in this case. This room has a beautifully carved fireplace. So let's have a look at some other things that can be carved. So we need to put in carve with nouns, and let's do 3 before and 3 after. And what do we get? So you can carve stone, you can carve wood, we carved out a niche for ourselves. That could be in the market. We carved out a niche in the market. So carving is a kind of cutting, and we use it to talk about stone, to talk about wood, and also to talk about meat. My grandfather always used to carve the turkey at Christmas. So if you imagine somebody cutting a big bird, carving with a carving knife, and it's the same idea when you carve wood or carve stone, to carve. The next one. Она имеет право опеки над ребенком. Право опеки. She has custody of the child. Custody, право опеки. And подозреваемый находится под стражей. The suspect is in custody. So this word custody, it's about when somebody has the authority, you could say to detain someone, to look after someone. Custody. The next one. Потребовалось месяцы, чтобы расчистить завалы от цунами. This is quite an obscure word. It took months to clear the debris from the tsunami. The debris. Americans say debris. Debris. They put the stress on the second syllable. In British English, it's debris. The debris from the tsunami, or the debris after the storm. And if I put in the word debris and then 4 words after, we'll probably see some words like that. Storm, removal of debris, to take it away. The debris flowed, after floods, for example, the debris flowed down the river. The fields were full of debris. The ground was covered with, or the ground was littered with debris. Debris. The next one. Это объект всемирного наследия ЮНЕСКО. So here we're talking about наследие. It is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. This word наследие, there are different translations. There's legacy, there's inheritance, and there's heritage. Legacy is usually what a person leaves, but it's not about property. Inheritance is about property, and heritage is about tradition. So it's what our ancestors / nature gave us. That's our heritage. What we have been given by our ancestors and by nature. That's our heritage. But in Russian, I think you can use наследие in all those cases. So heritage. And it's got this herit in it. So it's the same root. Right, the next one. У него благородная кровь. Благородная. He has noble blood. Just remember that this word has a big W in it. Noble. No, lots of w. Noble blood. Noble blood. He is a member of the nobility. Let's make that a bit bigger. There we go. A member of the nobility, noble blood. The next one. Это первоклассная недвижимость. Первоклассная. This is prime real estate. So if something's top quality, you can say it's prime. What other nouns are often used after prime? Obviously the prime minister. I'm sure you know that phrase. This is a prime example of what I mean. So it means it's a really good, it's like the best. Первоклассный пример, maybe. He is a prime suspect in the case. One of the main suspects, or even the prime suspect. He is the main suspect. So prime. The next one. Железобетон часто используется для строительства мостов. this isn't only about железобетон, but this action is what you do to beton to make it stronger. In this case, you add железо, iron. So this is a verb which means to make something stronger. Reinforced concrete is often used for building bridges. So when you reinforce something, you take something which is already strong and you make it stronger. That's reinforcing. Нам нужно подкрепление, чтобы удерживать оборону. We need reinforcements to hold the line. Reinforcements. So we have our force, but we need extra force. Reinforcements. Reinforce. And the last word in this part of the lesson, старик споткнулся. Я подхватил его. The old man stumbled and I caught him. So спотыкаться, there are two words actually. There's to trip and to stumble. To trip, it can be intransitive, I tripped, or transitive, he tripped me. Whereas to stumble is just I stumbled. It's only intransitive. You can say I tripped over the tree, or maybe I tripped on the tree root, but I stumbled over the tree root. So you can stumble, you can trip. Спотыкаться. That's another set of 10, so it's time to press pause, take a short break, have a drink, review the vocabulary, and then watch the next part of the lesson. See you soon. Part 4. This is quite an obscure word. Его обвинили в совершении многочисленных злодеяний. He was accused of committing multiple atrocities. So, zlodеяние is an atrocity, and there's also an adjective, atrocious, which has the same root. Погода стояла совершенно отвратительная. The weather was utterly atrocious. And we quite often combine these words, actually. Utterly atrocious. At least I think we do. Let's have a look at what words often come before atrocious. Let's see what the first one is. It was absolutely atrocious. It was truly atrocious, simply atrocious, downright atrocious. There it is, utterly atrocious. I found it. So absolutely atrocious. Really, really bad. So don't just say terrible, terrible, terrible every time. Try to use this word, atrocious. And when you're pronouncing it, remember, the O is clipped before the final sh. So atrocious. Lots of tr, and then a clipped vowel. Atrocious. Atrocious. The next one. Два поезда столкнулись из-за сбоя сигнала. They crashed into each other. If two things crash into each other, then we say they collide. Two trains collided after a signal failure. They collided. And the noun is collision. Экстренные службы поспешили на место столкновения. The emergency services hurried to the scene of the collision. So they collided. There was a collision. A collision between two trains, a collision between two cars, a collision between two world views. So it can be an ideological collision as well, not just a physical one. Collision. The next one. Его работу легко отличить. It is easy to distinguish his work. So отличить, is the verb, to distinguish. Она выдающаяся писательница. She is a distinguished writer. So her writing can be distinguished easily. She's distinguished, like she stands out from the others. Выдающаяся. She stands out. She's distinguished. There's also a nice adjective, indistinguishable. Their work is indistinguishable. Their work. So you can't tell the difference between them. If you can't tell the difference between two things, you can say that they're indistinguishable. Because you can't distinguish between them. Нельзя отличать. Indistinguishable. Okay, the next one. Опишите свои основные выводы в видении. Выводы. If we're talking about research, then describe your main findings in the introduction. So scientists, academics, they always talk about their findings. They carry out research, then they present their findings. When you pronounce it, findings. Findings. Don't close your mouth. Findings. Findings. There's no need to close your mouth. It stays open. Findings. Findings. The next one. Ребенок находится в приемной семье. The child is in foster care. So, приемные семьи – это foster families. We can talk about foster parents, foster mum, foster dad, foster care. That's not the only context when we use the word foster. But to find some more, I think we'll need to do a search. So foster, nouns. Let's do 3 and 3 and see what we get. So we want to foster the academic development of the children. So if you foster their academic development, you create an environment for their academic development. We want to foster a sense of patriotism. So you create an environment which promotes a sense of. So to foster can also mean something like to create an environment for. We want to foster economic growth. If you foster economic growth, you create an environment for economic growth, which is conducive to economic growth. So that's foster is about providing an environment. And I guess if you're a foster parent, you provide this family environment for the child. In these other cases, you create environments for different things to foster. Okay. Next one. Санкции. We talk about them a lot now. Санкции были введены в прошлом году. Sanctions were imposed last year. So to impose, and again, I think it's definitely worth checking what other things are often imposed. This should help to give an idea of how the word is used. And look what number 1 is. Sanctions were imposed. But you can also talk about restrictions were imposed. That's ограничения. You can talk about a tax was imposed on billionaires. Not attack. A tax. Let's have a new tax was imposed on billionaires. So you impose something on somebody. Costs were imposed on the consumers. Maybe in that case it's not введены. I'll have a look actually at in my translator and see what I get for that. I get возложенный. So введены, возложенный, impose. The next one. Мы ценим вашу альтернативную точку зрения. We appreciate we appreciate your alternative perspective. So, точка зрения can be a point of view, but it can also be a perspective. We also often use this phrase. Well, it puts my problems into perspective. So if something terrible happens to my friend, then I feel like my problems are not so serious. So it puts them into perspective. That's the phrase, I'm sure. I don't know, maybe that is перспектива in Russian. Позволяет взглянуть на мои проблемы в перспективе. So in that case, I think the words are used in the same way. They are cognates. The next one about Queen Elizabeth. Королева Елизавета правила более 60 лет. Queen Elizabeth reigned for more than 60 years. And I was born during the reign of Queen Elizabeth. Of course, yes, reign and reign dojt and reign about the king, the queen, they're pronounced exactly the same way. To reign. It's usually clear from the context. We're not talking about dojt Elizaveta. And it's a verb, to reign, and it's a noun, the reign. Reign. Long may she reign. Not may she reign, try that again. Long may she reign. That's very strange. Don't know why that doesn't work. May she reign over us for many years. The next one. Грабители разбили окно и пролезли внутрь. Разбили. We've already had the word shatter in this lesson. We could use that. They shattered the window. Or the word smashed. The burglars smashed the window and climbed through. So that's to smash. They smashed the window. What other things get smashed? Let's have a look. Smash. Or who smashes things? They smashed the window. As you can see, that's the most common. They smashed the glass. They smashed the door. Some other unpleasant ones. His face was smashed. The bottle was smashed. When you pronounce it smashed, try to make sure that your is clipped before the sh. Not smashed, but smashed. Pologolasum. Sort of under your voice. Smashed. The next one. Решение Верховного суда будет объявлено завтра. The Supreme Court's decision will be announced tomorrow. To be honest, this word supreme, it's used almost exclusively with the word court. I think you'll see this here if I put this into the corpus. The Supreme Court has 44,000 hits. And that's looking for things that go two words after. If I just do one word after, then Supreme Court has 43,000 and the next one is 900. So basically, Верховный суд is the Supreme Court, and it's not really used in any other context. I think the Politburo was the Supreme Council of the Soviet Union. So that's also supreme. Supreme. Stresses on the second syllable. Preme. And that's another set of 10. We're moving quickly now. So press pause, take a break if you need one, review the words, and then watch the final part of this lesson. So the final part of this lesson, word number 641, она была прикована к постели в течение месяца. She was confined to her bed for a month. She was confined. Confined. The stress is on the second syllable. And other nouns which often appear near this word are Confine. Let's do 3 before, 3 after. He was confined to a wheelchair. Same idea, приковано, I think. He was confined to his home. So he couldn't leave his home. Confined to. And if you're confined alone, we call it solitary confinement. Он провел 40 дней в одиночной камере. He spent 40 days in solitary confinement. Solitary, not solid tree. Solitary confinement. Confinement. In the past, we used to call the period before a woman gave birth her confinement. So 1 or 2 weeks before giving birth, the woman went into confinement. But we don't talk about that anymore. The next one. Я не могу раскрывать подробности нашего разговора. Раскрывать. I can't disclose the details of our conversation. So to disclose, I think we'll find if we put in disclose here, disclose, that we get words like details and data and information. Yeah, so the first one is information. I can't disclose this information. To disclose details, to disclose terms. I don't want to disclose my relationship status, for example. Раскрывать. Disclose. And there's a thing called a non-disclosure agreement. Она подписала соглашение о неразглашении. She signed a non-disclosure agreement. So, non-disclosure. Disclose, disclosure. Just like close, closure. The next one. Большинство транспортных средств выделяют вредные газы. So, выделять газы. Most vehicles emit harmful gases. Not admit, emit. Try again. Most vehicles emit harmful gases. No. Yes. Got it. Second time. Emit. Okay. And what other things get emitted? Let's have a look. It's a regular verb. It's an unusual one. It's a verb that ends in T, but it's regular. Emit, emitted, emitted. You can emit light. It emits. This substance emits radiation. Let's see. Is that выделяет in Russian? Let me check my translator. Испускает. There we go. There's another translation of emit. Испускать. Aeroplanes emit a lot of greenhouse gases. Almost got it. Emit. You see, I aspirate my T's so much. Emit. In American English, it will be fine. Aeroplanes emit a lot of greenhouse gases. No, it's it's not fine. But that's my bad American accent. Anyway, emit. Выделять, испускать. The noun is emissions. The next one. Грузовые тучи зловеще нависли над нами. This is an obscure word. Well done if you know it. The storm clouds loomed over us ominously. No, not led over. Loomed over. Yes, loomed. If something looms, then it's above you. Or if it's looming, then it's coming. We often use it to talk about like a scary event. I don't know. My final exams are looming. It means, they're coming. Imagine a wave towering above you. It's looming. Now, a loom is ткацкий станок. He was working at his loom. I'm not quite sure why or what the connection is between a loom and to loom, but there we go. A nice obscure word for you. Anyway. The next one. Она изложила свое предложение прежде чем ответить на более подробные вопросы. So, изложила. She outlined her proposal before taking more detailed questions. So, I'm sure you can guess what an outline is. You know, you give the outline. You don't give all the details, you don't add all the colour, you just give the outline, to outline something. Try to pronounce this word with a glottal stop. Outline, outline, not outline, outline, because we have a T before a consonant, and very often in British English, T before a consonant is replaced by the glottal stop. Outline, outline. She outlined her proposal. Or you can use the American outline, out, where you use not glottal stop, but the stop T. Outlined. But don't say a proper T. That would be wrong. Outlined her proposal before taking more detailed questions. Well, not wrong, actually just less natural. The next one. Несмотря на лечение, ее симптомы сохранялись. Не ушли никуда. Despite treatment, her symptoms persisted. If something persists, it basically continues. So in this context, we're talking about symptoms persisting. But in this context, ее настойчивость окупилась. Her persistence paid off. In this context, this female person is like symptoms because they just keep going. They don't give up. So to be persistent is to not stop, to not go away, to not give up. Не уступать. To be persistent, to show persistence, to keep going, keep going, keep going. Persistence. They persisted. The next one. Он поделился своей идеей с инвесторами. He pitched his idea to investors. Now, you may have heard this expression, an elevator pitch. And they say that every entrepreneur should have his elevator pitch, which is how would you pitch your business in an elevator? So you found yourself in an elevator with Elon Musk, and you want to pitch your idea to him to get investment. How would you do it in 2 minutes? How would you pitch your idea? I think it comes from the idea of, in sports, you've got the pitch. That's where everybody can see you if you're on the pitch. If you pitch your idea, you put it out there on the pitch for judgment, to be seen by everybody. Now, that's not the only meaning of pitch, because we also have this expression, было совершенно темно. It was pitch dark. And that's because pitch is a substance. I need to use my dictionary for this, but let's see if I can get it. The boat was covered in pitch, лодка была покрыта смолой. I think that works. Now, смола, when it's part of the tree, it's called sap. Sap. So, sap was oozing from the tree. But pitch, I think basically you take sap and you make it black by adding something, like really, really black, and then you can use it to paint things, etc. And that's probably why we call it pitch black. It's like, because pitch is like the blackest thing imaginable. So like really black smola, I think. The next one. Орлы парят высоко над долиной. I didn't know that орли could парить. Anyway. Eagles soared high above the valley floor. For some reason, voice typing got slow there. Soared. Okay, well, yes, it's giving me the word miecz instead of that kind of sword. But, you get the idea. That's because sword, miecz, and the verb to soar are pronounced the same way. Soared. They soared through the air. To fly high is to soar. Okay, there are just a couple more. Переговоры зашли в тупик. Negotiations stalled. I think my computer is stalling at the moment. It's slowing down. This stall, it's an interesting word. If you're driving your car, my car stalled. That's zaglох. So stalling is about stopping moving. Negotiations stalled. They stopped moving. My computer is stalling. It's like it's starting to stop moving. To stall. The horse is in its stall. Now this may be where it comes from, because a horse's stall, if you imagine a stable, konюшня, and then there are lots of different little rooms in the stable, one for each horse, well, they are stalls. Stoiler. It even sounds like stall. There you go. I think it comes from that, because when the horse is in its stall, it's not moving. Negotiations stalled. It's like putting a horse in the stall. It stops moving. So stalling is used when something stops moving. And the last one. Когда буря утихла, я отважился выйти наружу. When the storm died down, I ventured out. Well done, computer, you've made it. So to venture is this idea отважил. So it's like to do something a little bit risky is to venture. So it's kind of like to risk doing something, to venture. You may know about VC in investment. VC is venture capital. Not meant to capital. I'll write it in because voice typing is dying. But venture capital, because I think even the word adventure, it's a similar idea. There's always a bit of risk in adventure. So venture capital, you risk your money in this new venture, which is something risky and usually innovative. So to venture has this idea of risk, but going out there to venture. Right? That's all. Well done. That's another 50 words. We're getting near the end of the course now, so the words are becoming more obscure. So I hope you found something new, and I hope that you find some opportunities to use these obscure words, because that's the best way to remember, is to find a context to use them. So if there was some new vocabulary for you in this lesson, try to use it in your everyday life. Or even if you just think in English, try to think it in your mind. It will help you to remember. It will help to consolidate this new vocabulary. All right. There'll be another lesson soon. I hope that you will join me for it. Bye.